Hello, Paul Fitzpatrick from Win-Win Internet Solutions with a video on what's involved in building a website. It's part 2 of a series on how much does a website cost. This is a series of videos. The first one was types of websites. This one is what's involved in building a website, and part 3 is a free download of some costings of the different types of websites that we've discussed. Now, I think to most people it appears like building a website is really simple. Anyone can do it. Now, it may look easy, but don't be fooled. I personally believe in simplicity and making it easy for the user to find exactly what they want within a couple of clicks. This in itself requires careful planning and structure. Now, apart from what you see in your browser, there's a lot of preparation and thought required for an effective website build. So at its basics, these days anyone really can build a website. You'll find plenty of options out there to do it yourself, but if you're really serious about your business, you need to be dealing with a professional or a professional organization. They understand what makes an effective website pop, and it allows you to work on your business. So let's have a look at how an amateur might build a website. Firstly, they'll probably go down the cheapest path and use a free theme that claims to do everything for you. For a very basic, simple brochure website, this may be a viable option if you've got the time and temperament, but if you're serious about your website, this will come back to bite you. Now, there are also products like Wix, WordPress.com, and many others that promise you it's just a drag and drop situation, and even a supermodel can do it. Now, do-it-yourselfers will probably jump into the build without any idea, no planning of what they need or where the website is going. A good analogy is imagine building a house with poor footings or foundations. So let me tell you why building your own website may not be such a good route to take. Firstly, it's a huge learning curve for what may be just a one-off project. It does take a lot of time just to learn the terminology. Don't believe the advertising. It really takes a lot of time to learn how to use the platform. Now, you'll probably cut corners intentionally or unintentionally, and that'll end up costing you. It's easy to lose interest and motivation, and it's really hard to move a site later to a better option. Now, you might like to build your own website. It's very cheap to do it. You have total control. It's great learning. It's satisfying if you get it right, but incredibly frustrating if you don't. It's an ego boost. You can show off to your mates and say, hey, I built this website. In most cases, you will have to go through a huge learning curve for probably what's going to be a one-off project, and you'll never do it again. Or if you do, you'll have forgotten what you learnt the first time around anyway. You'll also have no one to critique your work, and whatever you do, don't ask your parents and friends, because they'll just pat you on the back and tell you how clever you are. Also, don't underestimate your visitors. Many of them can smell an amateur website, and they'll quickly bounce off your website and look for a more trustworthy option. Now, let's look at the way a professional might build a website. An experienced web designer or developer will know that if you don't have a plan and a strong understanding of the product or the business that you're building, you are asking for trouble. Now, even before starting, you need initial general discussion with the client about what's required, a more in-depth discussion, question and answer, and brainstorming session with the client at a later stage. Now, you need to design some kind of design or integration prototype, especially as the builds get more complex. You'll be presenting this to the client with some back and forth communication just to make sure you're getting everything correct. You'll have to be receiving and resending a proposal or contract, and that needs to include not just what is in the website, but also what isn't in the website. Now, also, SEO, search engine optimization, needs to be considered. A marketing plan needs to be considered, and therefore the necessary integrations required for that. So that's really just the preparation. Now, in the build, many websites start on the developer's local computer with a totally blank canvas. You may start with a template as a starting point, or utilize an existing theme and tweak it and develop it from there. Now, this is especially for cheaper builds or a brochure type website. You need to search for relevant images if it's not supplied by the client, or engage a graphic artist to design the site, and or image branding bundle for consistency of message. You need to optimize all the message images and code for speed. It's very important for Google and the search engine results that website is fast, and it needs to be a good user experience. You need to design an effective structure, knowing exactly what the client requires from the above points. If this isn't done correctly, it may necessitate a lot of work down the track. Work may be done in stages, receiving acceptance at each stage before moving on to the next. So going live, which is putting it on the server for the general public to see, first of all, there'll be a lot of checks and balances needed before it does actually go online. It needs to set up the hosting, delegation of the domain name. We'll be doing a lot of cross-browser testing, fixing it and adjusting it to suit. Mobile devices of all different types need to be checked and fixed for and adjusted. Checking that the code is clean and fast is incredibly important. Checking the multitude of settings, making sure that all are correct, and also any integrations with e-commerce, membership, etc. They have to be tested firstly under test circumstances before it's live. Fantastic, it's time to go live. Now there are still tests to be done that should be done by a professional. A lot of it is rechecking some of the above, but especially with integrations with e-commerce, membership, etc., it needs to be tested once again under production circumstances. There is a follow-up period. Often it's a 30-day after the website is live, and it's just to iron out any bugs and fixes. Some other aspects of a website build that a professional will need to be doing is communicating with the client during the website build and after the website build, and that can take up a fair amount of time. Making notes, reports of progress if required, also notating and clarifying any changes that are requested during the build. Now, research is a huge part of it, especially if there are unusual requirements which may be required in e-commerce builds. That's often related to shipping and payments. So I've really just touched on a few broad topics. As you can see, there are a lot of aspects that need to be taken into consideration for a website build. The last part of the series is the exciting part. It's where I show you some actual pricing recommendations, and I'm sure it's why you've stuck through this whole thing to find out. It's a free download, so grab it now before you get. The link will be underneath the video. Good luck with your website build, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.